Hello everyone, in this video we are going to report the local and global communication and multicultural settings. Along with defining the local and global communication, Group 3 members which are Romelin Cabang, Jet Armand Ubida, Leanne Micor, Jonald Cordero, and I, Mary Joy Consorte, are also going to report the importance of local and global communication, its challenges and barriers, cultural differences, or knowing or learning the cultural differences, and lastly, the impact of local and global communication. Alright, let's go ahead and start. So first, what is local communication? In every communication, it involves at least one sender, the message, and a recipient. Local communication is being able to communicate with the members of your local area. It can either be in your local language or what we so-called the mother tongue or the common language that you speak within your town. Local communication is defined by social integration, for example, face to face interaction or interaction between individuals physically co present. Second is the global communication. The term global communication refers to the methods of mobilization, sharing, and connection across political, economic, social, and cultural barriers in ways that conventional theories of language relations have not taken into account. It redefines soft and hard power and as well as information power and diplomacy. Global communication is a function of system integration or interaction between individuals away from each other in time or space or both.
Multicultural settings. Multicultural settings refers to a society contains several cultural or ethnic groups. People live alongside one another, but each cultural group does not necessarily have engaging interaction with each other. When we say multicultural settings, it is living in a globalized world. You have to encounter people with diverse cultural backgrounds. There was a challenges that we need to consider in multicultural settings. It is culture and beliefs and language.
Communication in multicultural setting. Now let's talk about the different communication contexts. Human communication does not exist. It operates within a certain context, and when we say communication context, it pertains to the personal, physical, social, psychological, and cultural circumstances, among the others, in which communication occurs. It influenced the expectation from the participants and the meaning derived in the exchange of occurrences and the subsequent action in communication. First, let's talk about personal context. When we say personal context, it involves the background of both sender and the receiver. So it includes their religion, education, culture, social economic status, and belief that greatly influence how they can communicate and interact with others. It is important that there is awareness of this kind of information of both parties, the sender and the receiver, so the misunderstanding can be avoided and respect can be maintained. Next, we have physical context. Physical context pertains to the environment where communication takes place. It involves tangible factors which can be easily perceived by the senses such as temperature, humidity, other lighting, and noise level. For instance, people communicating in a very humid location may feel uncomfortable, and this communication might be able to concentrate each other's message. Further, the physical context includes proximity, how far and how close to the participant, as well as the medium used in send the message. Over the years, most communication occurs on virtual environment, such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Skype. These social media platforms influence may we receive and perceive message. A social context, and it refers to the relationship or the kind of relationship that exists between the sender and the receiver. For example, is the way you talk to your parents is different from the way you talk to your friend. And the way you talk to your friend is different from the way you talk to your teachers. Fourth, we have psychological context. It includes the emotions and feelings of the participants in the communication process. It involves judgment and perceptions toward each other which can play a part in the transmission of the message. For example, a person who is emotionally unstable because he broke up with his girlfriend or partner, so this person may not readily receive your message immediately. They are not yet ready to talk with someone. So hence, it is important to recognize overall emotional condition in communication. Lastly, we have the cultural context. And it is the vital consideration in communication, so it includes sets of belief and value system on one race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, and religion, in which communication takes place, so the context and the delivery may vary from one culture to another. Culture. Culture is a set of unique and shared beliefs. Culture, values, and norms that guide a certain group of people on how to think, behave, and act. Hence, Filipino culture pertains to beliefs, values, and practices unique to Filipino, shared by Filipinos, and exhibited by Filipinos. Communication and culture are intertwined, so in fact, they are inseparable. The culture influence what and how we communicate in order for us to increase awareness and develop competence in communicating in multicultural setting. It is essential to unlock some cultural dimensions, provide example, and explaining how the effect of communicating. Dimension and communication. Individualistic culture. This puts premium of the self and personal fulfillment. Next is collectivist culture. It values teamwork and collaboration. Context. Low and high. Low context culture, it views explicit words as way convey messages. And high context culture, it uses subtle and nonverbal behavior and it implicit information to convey meaning. Chronomics. Next is chronomics. Chronomic, it pertains to the concept of time among culture. Monochronic culture, it advocates punctuality, timely completion of tasks, and accomplishment of one task at the time. Next is uncertainty avoidance. Uncertainty avoidance culture. It refers to the need and foresee what is going to happen. There's two uncertainty avoidance. Low uncertainty avoidance culture and high uncertainty avoidance culture. Low uncertainty avoidance culture, it is tolerant and unpredictable and uncontrolled situation. High uncertainty avoidance culture is values precision and always attempts to anticipate risks to possibly reduce them. Power distance. To be considered when communication, it is extent of how the equality and inequality of power expected or accepted. Lower power distance culture, it is values equal distribution of power. And high power distance culture, it recognizes the unequal distribution of power is normal. Masculine culture and feminine culture. Masculine culture advocates for strict adherence to conventional gender roles and behavior. Feminine culture, it is based on the premise that me and woman assume varieties of roles, and these are both regard but this both value regardless of their sex and gender. Long-term and short-term orientation, it refers how patients is values is waiting for the outcomes. We have short-term orientation culture. It is characterized by being very performance driven. Long-term orientation culture, it is more laid back, that it more patience in waiting for the outcomes of an action.
Good day. Let's now talk about the importance of local and global communication. The importance of local and global communication is that they open a lot of opportunities to every individuals, every entrepreneurs, and even to small and big businesses. It is also a sharing of ideas with people who have came from to different country, or using a local language for an interview or even in a networking site. In today's globally interconnected society, learning the language of a place has become crucial. Why? Individuals benefit from being able to communicate in their native tongue. So, when learning a language of one specific area of our country is a very big help for us to enable for us to communicate effectively. So, let's talk about the importance of local communication to our culture and country. Culture and society. Appreciating the native culture and its distinctive features is made easier by learning the language of the locality. Meaning, by learning and appreciating one's native language or native tongue is easier for us to use to communicate or start a conversation to anyone. For example, in the Philippines, we have many dialects, and for us to make a conversation for those people who has a different dialect or language, we must know their dialects and we must appreciate and respect their language so that we can communicate with one another effectively. Next, we have it will help you provide access and making a connection. Learning a language spoken locally can help you make the most of the many opportunities that may come your way. It will also get you the impression that their way of life and languages are very fascinating. Let us now move forward to the importance of global communication. First, we have it will increase business opportunities. As I said earlier about the importance of local communication, it will help you it will help you give an access. So, in global communication, it will increase business opportunities. For companies, increased global communication means new business opportunities, effective international business opportunities, communications, demands, and understanding of other cultures. So, it is important to learn and appreciate each other's languages so that we can increase our businesses and will help us an access of big opportunities. We have it will improve our cultural education. New methods for teaching children about other cultures have emerged as a result of increased global communication. Teachers can also use technology to teach students about the differences and customs of other cultures. from political leaders and cultural experts. Lastly, we have it will create a global village. When we say global village, it is created when people are connected by technology and distance and isolation no longer matter. Though, so it means that even you are far away from each other, you can still communicate effectively. It is influenced by both globalization and global communication. It is now easier to view people on the other side of the world as a neighbors rather than as strangers from a faraway land thanks to globalization and global communication. So the global village is a result of global communication and globalization. Let's now learn about the challenges or barriers of local and global communication. What are the challenges or barriers of local and global communication? First, we have the language. Not speaking the same language or you're not speaking their language very well can use a myriad of misunderstandings. Verbal communication is important in every context, but the meaning of words can literally get lost in translation. So, when you're not learning a language or when you not know the language of others, you might get misinterpreted what they say or what they want to say. Next, we have the stereotypes. Stereotypes are mostly negative images or preconceived notions about a specific community, group, or culture. The basis of stereotyping can be many things, though the most are common are nationality, gender, race, religion, or age. So, of course, in learning a local and global communication, we can deny the fact that we can still encounter stereotyping. The third one is design and symbols. Nonverbal communication, like signs and symbols, differ from culture to culture and can therefore not be relied upon in communication. For example, the thumbs up, known in the Western world as a sign of approval, is a sin as, and insult in Bangladesh. So, we have different signs and symbols that can make bad impression about the other cultures. So, we must learn about their not just their language but also their signs and symbols for us not to get in trouble. The fourth one is the behavior. Cultural differences cause behavioral and personality differences like body language, gestures, mindsets, communication, manners, and lastly norms. And because of that, because we have different behaviors and other personality differences, it may also lead in miscommunication. Lastly, we have belief. People buried religious or spiritual beliefs can also lead to conflict and cross-cultural barriers. We all know that we have different religions inside and outside of our country. Because we have different religions, we have different beliefs. And because we have different beliefs, the things that is okay with us is not okay with others. So we must know and respect their beliefs so that we it will not cause any miscommunication or misunderstanding. Let us now talk about the cultural barrier. Culture is all socially transmitted and shared behaviors, manners, customs, rituals, beliefs, ideas, arts, knowledge, values, of course, morals, and lastly, ideals that are learned in a group of the same nationality, religion, religion or ethnicity. It is handed down from generation to generation, slowly evolving and creating many subcultures in the process. When we say cultural barrier, it is the challenges or hindrances that our culture is the main reason.
Good day everyone, I am Jet Arman Piobida and today I'm going to discuss the cultural differences or knowing and learning the cultural differences. So before we start, I'm going to discuss what is culture. So what is culture? Culture has been studied and defined in many ways by multiple scholars representing various disciplines. Adler, 1997, has synthesized many definitions of culture. She says that culture is something that is shared by all or almost all members of some social group. Something that the older members of the group try to pass on to the younger members. Something as in the case of morals, laws, and customs that shapes behavior or structures one's perception of the world. So we can simply define culture is something that practiced by social group of people, and they trying to preserve it by passing it to the younger members of their group. Culture affects the behavior and belief of someone. Next, culture is formed by race. So culture formed by race because we know that every race has different beliefs, different culture that they perform. Next, ethnicity. People have common form their own culture, their beliefs, and also culture formed by gender. Like women will do or believe something or perform their culture that men will not going to do. And also men will perform something or do or their belief or their culture that a woman will not going to do, and other genders. Class and religion. We know that in the Philippines we have a lot of different religion which performs their own belief and their own culture. Country of origin. Culture form also to the country of origin. So it means that even you have a different race but your country of origin is in the Philippines, you will acquire or form your culture by living in the Philippines. So you're going to perform a culture do by Filipinos. Geographic of origin. So geographic of origin refers to the place where you live before. So you can form your culture by which place you live before. So a people will develop his culture when he lived before. So here are some differences of culture or cultural differences. So we have nature of people. There are differences in culture with respect to beliefs about the nature of people. That is, people may has been a good or evil or both, although it rather usual, at least in Western societies, to see people as mixture of good and evil. It's also rather usual for people to fear the unknown. Thus, people may assume foreigners to be evil people. So, cultural differences may affect the nature of people. So, other people will think that other people is good or bad because of his belief or culture that is not in common to them. But for the people who performing it, this is a usual doing for his everyday life. Personal relationship to external environment. In some cultures, people dominate over their environment. In some culture, people can live in harmony with their environment and do not see any real separation between people and nature. In other cultures, people are subjugated by the environment and people accept inevitable forces of nature. So some people has a relationship onto their environment and give importance to their environment compared to other culture. So next is person relationship to other people. In some culture, people are individualist and use personal characteristics and achievements to define themselves and value individual welfare. While other cultures, people are group-oriented and define themselves as members of group, which can be clans or communities. In these cultures, people considered common goals and the group's welfare most important. So, some cultures has their members individual, so they give importance to their self, their goals in life, while in other culture they give importance to their culture and to their group and considered that they are on this group and they have to have a commons primary mode of the activity. Different cultures stress doing or acting and achieving outcomes. The members of the culture are doers who want to achieve the most life. On the other hand, some cultures stress in being and suppose that people, events and ideas spontaneously are the members of the culture are beers who want to experience life. The doer is more active and beer is more passive. So in other culture they give importance in doing activities, and in other culture it's hard to them to do this activity. So next, patterns of cultural differences. So here are the patterns of cultural differences. Communication style. So because of culture, the people develop a different communication style, the way they talk to a person. Attitudes towards conflicts. So people develop attitudes towards conflicts based on their culture. And approach in completing tasks. So some people give importance in completing tasks because this is what their culture teach them or pass them. And people will give a different decision making based on their culture. Attitudes toward disclosure. So people will have a different attitude in towards disclosure because of their culture. Approaches to knowing. So some people have problem on approaching someone to know them because or something that they need to know or things because of their culture or their everyday doing on their life. Next, we have the impact of local and global communication. So local communication is a vital to culture and society. It helps in understanding the local culture and the aspect of society. It is an advantage to learn the idiosyncratic facets of custom and how people interact in society. It also crucial to business. Not knowing how communicate in local language can hinder the growth of business. It plays an important role in the communication of a company externally or internally. Local communication provides wide variety of opportunities that may come in way people who have a strong grasp of the local or native language are at advantage compared to the people who do not understand it. Lastly, it creates a language with others even when they don't know the language flatters other people. It makes them feel that their culture and language is worth learning about. So people who do local communication or their culture makes them feel that it's really worth to learn their culture when someone with different culture or different language adjust to them and study their language to talk with them. So Next is the global communication. Global communication has been increasingly significant as globalization has evolved. This was particularly evident after the end of the Cold War, when technological progress was on the rise and the importance of mass communication was just being worldwide recognized. Mocktail 2010. Global communication has increased by the ways in which people can learn new information and communicate with other people all across the globe. Also, internet, radio, and satellite television allow people to watch channels that broadcast in the United Kingdom even though they may be located in Russia, for example. Moreover, advances in technology have allowed availability of the internet and other means of communication which allows more people to communicate with one another. So global communication has affect to the peoples that through the global communication they can communicate to others, and others will understand them because of the global communication. They can have communication and understand each other whether they are from other country, they are far from the people, they can communicate it because of the global communication. So that's all, and thank you.
So, good day everyone. I am Jet Arman Piobida from Group 3, and here's our topic, local and global communication and multicultural setting. So, before we start, let me introduce my group mates. So, we have Mary Joy Consorte, Leanne Jewel Micor, Jonald Cordero, and our beloved leader, Miss Romilyn Cabang. And unfortunately, two of our members can participate on the meet now because of connection problem. So let's start our activity. So next slide, please. So our activity is try to arrange the following jumbled letters. So let's have the number one jumbled letter. So who wants to answer the jumbled letter? Who wants to arrange it? You can raise your hands. So anyone who wants to answer the question, you can chat on the chat box or raise your hand using the reaction button. So number one, let's have Miss Talento.
Local communication po.
So next slide. So we can see if she's correct. Next slide. So the answer is local communication. Next. So who wants to answer? So let's have Miss Didre Guanzon.
My answer is cultural differences.
So next, let's see if she's correct. Number 3 question next, please. So who wants to answer number 3 question? So let's have Miss Pabiran.
Global communication.
Let's see if she's correct. Next question, please. So let's have Miss Raimundo.
Culture po.
Let's see if she's correct. Next, please. So she got the right answer. So next question, please. So let's have Miss Husay.
Language.
Let's see if she's correct. Next. So let's have Miss Gagatiga.
Foreign po.
Next. So the answer is correct. And next, let's have Miss Camposano.
Challenges po.
So let's see if she's right. So her answer is correct. And next. So let's have Miss Talento.
Purposive communication.
Okay. Next. Let's have Miss Estrella.
My answer is multicultural setting.
So next. So Miss Estrella got the correct answer. So next. Let's have Miss Gagatiga.
Cultural barrier.
Let's see if she's correct. So she got the correct answer. Next. Bonus question. Who wants to answer the bonus question? So raise your hand. So let's have Pabiran.
Kim Townism.
So let's see. So thank you guys for participating. That's all.